In this tutorial, we'll be describing buildings in one-point perspective. So in this image here, if you ever tried to draw something like this, knowledge of perspective is super important. Here are some examples of how a horizon line and vanishing point are going to be useful. And here's the drawing I'm going to do, step by step, and show you how I got there. So we're going to start with is a pencil, paper, a ruler, or a straight edge. We're going to establish a horizon line. Put it in the middle or in the upper half of your paper. It's just a horizontal line. And somewhere in the middle third, place a dot on that line. That's going to be your vanishing point. Next, we're going to establish the width of our street as it goes away. So those are two lines, one more to the left and one more to the right, that go back to the vanishing point. That's going to show a road flaring out. And kicking out a little outside of each are going to be two more lines that are going to help create something called our sidewalks. We have these concrete sidewalks in America here that have these edges that separate. And as things get further away from you in space, things get closer together and smaller. So you'll notice that I spaced out some markings to help my spaces get smaller over time. When I get to a really tight area, when my lines start to get really close, I'll just, instead of using a ruler here, I'll just freehand and work my lines in there. But what we're trying to do is establish a space that feels like the illusion of pulling away from you. I'm going to make the center of the street here and just put some little dotted lines that get closer together to make it appear like two lanes. Now let's establish our first building. So over here on the right, I'm going to create a vertical line that goes then with horizontal lines goes across. Basically, I'm creating a box or a rectangle in this case. Now what you're going to notice now is super important. I'm going to show you how we're going to create the side of this box. We're going to take the top edge of that vertical line I created for the building, and I'm going to shoot these convergence lines that are going to guide my building back in space. And I'm also going to apply it to the bottom of the line. So you'll create these soft lines that pull back in space. I'm going to now create the distance I want my building to travel. So I'm going to create another vertical line, but in that space of those convergence lines, and let those cut it off. And what I established was the side of the building that faces the street and the other side of the building, which is that flat rectangle I drew in the beginning, that faces us. To offer you a nice description here is I'm actually going to create a little driveway or street edge here against this building to convey the idea that the three-dimensionality of the building stands out a little bit more for you as a viewer. So again, we have two sides of a building we see here. And I'm also creating the sidewalk lines in perspective there as well. And even extra little details like the curb bumps there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate on this building. We're going to talk about how when you look at things, how they're described. Well, if you have windows and doors and they face you, like on this side, like on this building here, on this side, they're just going to face you. And all I have to do is, I'm going to make it like an office building. All I have to do is draw these rectangles anywhere I want to create windows. Now I can create any style windows I want. There we go. Now, if I want to create another a door here on the side of the building, I'm going to create the height of the door, and then I'm going to use that horizontal line of the door and bring that back to the vanishing point. So my vertical lines always go straight up, and my horizontal lines will always go back to the vanishing point when I'm drawing them on the sides of things that pull back in space. I'm going to do the same thing with this little window inside the door there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to establish some windows here too. So again, notice those guidelines I brought back in space are already going to make the windows appear smaller. I'm just going to make sure I have the height I want for the windows. I'm now going to create a second floor, and I'm going to guess that my windows are going to be about, I'm going kind of comparing to what I did for the first floor. And I can use the first floor windows as a guide. Again, I'm just going to draw these straight across like I did on the ones below, match it up with the one below to get perfectly matched windows, and just repeat that process. Now, if I want to put these same type of windows on the side of the building that goes back in space, watch what I do here. I guide that edge, and I already established the height of the windows. All I have to do is bring the lines back to establish the angle correctly. Knowing that the window closest to us is the widest one, I just make the other windows incrementally thinner to further enhance that sense of three-dimensional space. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add more buildings and details to the scene pretty fast, but let's get started with just adding. I'm going to add some details at the top of my building here. Just kind of like this, like a little rooftop bump out like you would see on some city buildings. Next, I'm going to create the first edge of the next building. I'm going to make it a little taller than this one, and it's getting overlapped, so I'm basically creating a rectangle that gets overlapped. Again, I'm going to take the leftmost edge on the top and bottom of my rectangle, bring that back, and then establish how wide I want my building to be. So it's a repetitive process. I'm going to continue for more buildings here. And you'll notice that the angle of my buildings gets steeper as they go further back. So I did 3 buildings in a row there. And now I'm going to establish angles for windows, and just keep repeating the process I did in building number 1. Hope you enjoy this and get something out of it. Follow along, try your own buildings, try your own layouts, but see if you can get that sense of three-dimensional space. Adding details will get more impressive the more time you take, and also maybe even researching some buildings as examples to help you describe certain details you want. You don't always have to draw from the top of your head. You can always get some resources to help you out. Good luck, everybody. Hope this helps.